right. Okay. I think you can see me all right. Can you see me all right? I think so. Let's see. Sideways here. Hi. Hi. It's Sheena Collins here. So, anyway, my mission during breast cancer became Sheena Strong. So that's what I use to encourage me and to keep me going. So you'll notice out there that a lot of breast cancer patients will use their name with the moniker Strong, hashtag Sheena Strong. So that became my mission. And I really feel that often, you know, when I work through things and survive things, or I have things I need to work through or improve, or just to keep functioning, things to fulfill you, I've always taken steps to ensure that, you know, I'm sharing that with others. And, you know, I need to take the time for myself. And then I've always wanted to teach that to others, what I learned that helped me. And this applies to all forms of fitness, different things. So, funny little tidbits you'll laugh about. I know you know about the yoga teacher Sheena, and, you know, because I talk about that, and I do videos with the mindfulness and the focusing, and, you know, about, you know, I'm into spiritual life. But one thing you don't know is back in the day, I used to teach step aerobics for our for the city of Waverly in Iowa, where I went to college there at Wartburg College. I'm giving a plug, go Orange. And I also taught water aerobics at the swimming pool in Waverly, Iowa. I did that. I had also worked in Cedar Falls, done some park and rec work, and just, you know, my whole life it's always kind of been ongoing in one form or the other, whether I'm doing it for somebody else or if I'm doing it for myself, and mostly doing it for myself. So I can't go through a journey without ever, you know, really getting fully into it, like stepping into it, picking it apart, analyzing it. You know, I'm always a very in my head person, I've been. So, and that makes, you know, so I journal about things, I write about things, I find modalities of healing with my chronic pain. I attended group therapy, although therapy is not really the right word, but it's like a group class to learn how to use techniques of mindfulness and relaxation and visualization and biofeedback in some really simple ways that you can use that to shift your perception of your pain experience. And, you know, I've done that. I've done training with, you know, healing, and, you know, my life is very prayerful, and I believe in the power of that. I believe that in the power of manifesting, I believe that we, you know, what we take the action steps and move toward and ask for, we do get. And we always hear the expression, you know, be careful what you wish for, like, right? And, you know, sometimes it's many, many years later that things come to fruition. And I'm of the age now that I realize this. So yeah, so you have to watch those words that pass outside your lips, okay? Anyway, so speaking of caring for yourself, I have been slacking off on my physical activity. You don't know, I have. Because I've been focusing my tasks on doing other things like, you know, getting the store in order, because I want that to be ready. I have my last surgery coming up. I'm going to need to take about a month off for sure. Well, that was really weird. My camera just did a jiggly wiggly thing all by itself. And now I think I'm crooked. And so just as I talk about, you know, getting the home prepared for when you're about ready to have surgery or something like that, if you're a business owner, you also need to make sure that you have your work prepared. You know, you do. You really, really do. I stumbled through it. I had no clue when this cancer journey hit me. So, I hope that, my steps now here where I'm on the side of no evidence of disease, where I've learned how to approach these things, where I've learned inside to be okay with some of the decisions I've had to make. For instance, closing up my store for a while, reducing the hours to, make it so that I could be there to work. I mean, it's a very changed economy right now and a very changed workforce. And, and I also feel that I need to be hands-on in my store. There's been so much that I feel, has been beyond my control, and that's been really hard. And so now it's like, I was like, I need to put that public relations degree to good work and get busy and building the business that, I was envisioned in my mind when I took over this brick and mortar business. And so, I've held out so I have a place to return to work to. I've always, throughout this journey, the cancer, the chronic pain, the chronic migraines, have found ways and solutions to get there. And it's a long and tedious task. This week, I have radio frequency done on my nerves, in my right eye. So we're not doing the left. The frequency of shots that I get is really way too much, and the insurance finally approved to have the radio frequency done. But you have to go through steps to get there. And now I've been on this journey of the chronic pain since I had a major surgery in January 2015. So, and that was that vascular surgery in my leg, that microvascular surgery. And I have to look, I wonder if my plastic surgeon worked on that one too. That was an interesting surgery. I geek out about this stuff, the biology of things. And I find that the human body is really freaking amazing. And just what it can do, what the power of the mind, the power of the body is, but a lot of it is, you have to keep this good, and keep this good, your body, to be all whole. So your head, your heart, your meat package, it all has to grip together. So I've been on this quest. Of course, when I was younger, it was fun to do exercise. It was fun to run. You didn't have the aches and pains. You didn't, go through things. I mean, if you were a healthy person in your, teens and 20s, you lived relatively pain-free and never had any major incidents of disease or, major surgeries. But now, now we're at that age where we have to do things just to maintain our mobility. So stretching and the exercises we do just to keep us strong and our bones healthy and our attitudes healthy. So this bra strap is irritating me. I'm sorry. So they have me wearing a bra all the time with the tissue expanders because to keep those muscles trained. And that's where I'm talking about stretching and how I feel like I haven't done what I should be, or I've been doing it wrong. I don't know. But the stretching out, I'm feeling weird things with the muscles. So, and this is another change, and this is ever so important. Okay. But like, I just realized it, and my final surgery is coming up, and I want to be active and do everything right, but I've been being slow. I've been taking it easy because life was so chaotic for the first year and over a year of this cancer journey that, now I'm just finally starting to be able to catch some breaths again. Like literally, it's like my head's like kind of like finally, I feel like my nostrils, the water's like right here, and I'm just like tipping up, and I'm, keeping my eye up there, So it's more important now than ever to me to be fully healthy and to use the tools and skills and techniques that I've learned throughout my life, and to apply them to this changing need of, recovering from chemotherapy and immunotherapy, while also reclaiming my body from cancer and being on hormone therapy for 5 years minimum. So, yeah, and I'm just about to hit my final surgery, and that's at the end of January, and then that will be to have the tissue expanders removed and the breast implants put in. And I had major skin grafting done. Anyway, my whole point of this story being, I don't know, as I set off on this tangent, is doing what you have to do to care for you. I've been doing what I've had to care for myself, and I've just started in like this last week. The month of December. I can't say just this last week. And a lot of it revolves heavily around doing things with my church parish, and I find the celebrating of the Advent season and having those activities to go to. And my energy is getting better, so it'll be coming up here in mid-February when I was all done with anything that was intravenously dumped into me, the chemo, the immunotherapy, which, speaking of human body things and geeking out, immunotherapy, wow. That's like they take these mice stem cells and they like put them in your body and it bonds with your cells to change the receptors. It's just mind-blowing. How do people figure this stuff out? Like, these people way smarter than me. I'm starting to gain clarity and more energy, and I also think some of that energy is the anticipation of knowing that I'm gonna fit in my clothes again, that I can wear my clothes comfortably, be comfortable in my body. That is so amazing, and I feel so fortunate to have lost body parts that can be, replaced with something that is a lot like a body part. And I'm so grateful that the latissimus dorsi back flap surgery worked and the skin grafts took, and we were able to make this happen. That, I was not willing to accept that I had to be without my breasts. And I know that some women are really interconnected with, thoughts of, losing their womb, especially when you're dealing with this kind of cancer. There's a lot of a secondary cancer that comes with it is ovarian cancer. So there are a lot of hysterectomies that do happen. And so it's, what we perceive of ourselves that makes us into feeling like a woman. Myself, I've never had children. And this is also an interesting facet of my story, is I've never had children in my lifetime. And, now my body was instantly thrust into menopause through this journey. Right? So that was crazy. I mean, it was like instantaneous once I started chemo. It's like that radioactive sludge starts killing you off fast. And wow, I can't even believe I'm sitting here with eyelashes today. I can, but wow. Anyway, I need to be very, very healthy, and I digress and I talk all over the place, but I don't know. My podcast is called Bantering Fool. So as you can see why. But I have a lot of things on my mind, and I should make an outline. That's like a key to doing like a good show, and consistency is key. I'm learning all this stuff as I've built an online presence for, my brick and mortar store. We go back to that, plus some other online things that I'm doing because I am, I'm ready to launch once I'm healed from this last surgery. I know I'm not back to normal. I know I still have to avoid large crowds as much as possible. I know I have to still keep my plexiglass up at work and sit behind it. I have remained, free of ailments, and I am grateful and thankful and blessed. And I think it is taking small precautions. We all know wash your hands, right? Sing happy birthday, say a Hail Mary, something like that. Make sure the water's warm. Get suds and rinse well, especially before you go back to work if you work in food service or anywhere, for Pete's sake. Did you ever see Mythbusters where they talk about ooh, about poop particles and like in bathrooms and like, yeah, you'll never leave your toothbrush in the open air again. Promise you that. You can't even trust the ones in the package. Yes, Miss Mythbusters. That was such a good show. Anyway, so I've been on this long journey of, continuous, I would say, since my whole adult life, from when I was 17, 18, I've done some sort of healing work, different things like that. But I found a lot of my work is also inner, and that's why I'm very spiritual. I'm very practicing of my Catholic faith. I'm also very deeply practicing of being mindful of, finding ways to connect to my innermost and my highest self. That's really important to me. And having the ability to listen to what I need so that I can take those petitions and give them to God, let them out to the universe, let them rise up and meet me, do the work to make it happen. Like I've wanted this surgery to be a success. I wanted to be healed from cancer. We've taken the steps as best as we could, and we've made it happen. And I say we because it has taken many people around me. I mean, literally, people cleaning, cooking, moving things at the store, handling it, like literally. And it's required big decisions and hard decisions and stuff that I feel like at first I was really scared to do. And then I had to. And this cancer as an awakening. It was an awakening that, oh my gosh, I've got the second lease on life. I need to be a better person, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I think I was mumbling along out here pretty all right as a person before, doing my best to be the best version of myself and, and sharing, what I learned with others. And, but yeah, a different lease on life that I really had to sit back as a, what's considered a middle-aged woman. I was 46 when I was diagnosed with my breast cancer. I'm now 48. So having to sit back and take a look and reevaluate my life. I'm divorced. So and I'm single. This is where I'm at right now in life. And I've always worked for myself since my 20s. And the last, let's see, we're going on 4 years, 2023 will be 5 years at the Galleria here in Westfield. And that's, had its own certain set of growing pains and challenges. And like, wow, the experience I have just to put that in there. But, now that I'm at this point, I can really start doing some work. So figuring things out, accepting it. I go back to, I was scared to change things, but I needed to do it to keep me alive. And I needed to do it because I like being part of a community. That's why I have my brick and mortar store. That's why I go to Mass and participate in my local church parish as much as I can. And that's why I have pushed through this cancer journey with my little antique vintage consignment store here in Westfield, which is a touristy town in Wisconsin. And we're right smack dab in between Madison, Wisconsin and Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And, it's a nice little place to be, and I like it. I was very warmly received into the community when I moved here. I had such great neighbors, and then I liked it. And then I went through a life-changing event and with my health. So, and this was many years ago, I had moved here to Westfield in 2011. And then it was 2014, and I had an angiogram that went awry. And so that led to a battle with figuring out what happened. and then recovering, going through a major surgery where I could not walk. And that took a long time. It took a long time for me to be able to walk a block, walk down and get the mail. So I'm no stranger to this rebuilding. So I know what I need to keep going. And I've always been physical, active, younger, but now that has to come from a more inner place. So all of the mindfulness and, I was talking about the pain groups and, there you learned biofeedback, watching your pulse rate as soon as, thoughts, and trying to, instead of focusing and fixating and being in misery over your pain, learning how to break through that and doing it, without, with other tools, than medication. And I really fight hard to do that. I am not one that I want to leave my whole care up to herbs and spices and, tinctures and things like that. I mean, I'd go back to my 20s, and, or a time when I didn't have health insurance, I would be like, okay, yeah, I don't know. I always wondered back then if I was diagnosed with cancer, I was like, no, I'm just going to treat it with herbs and exercise and breathing and blah, blah, blah. Well, when I was actually diagnosed with cancer, oh, like hell no. I needed modern medicine and all that, and I needed to let them work together, and that's what I believe. I believe that there is a hand with the doctors that goes hand in hand with ancient forms of healing and practices of connecting with your inner self. In this world of technology and everything that we have, things come at us so fast that we don't have time just to sit and be anymore. When's the last time that you just sat down somewhere and just sat outside? Or I think about being a kid and watching ants crawl in the grass. Think about the movie A Bug's Life. I mean, really, wow, I haven't thought of the movie in a long time. But that minuscule, that microscopic whole world that's going on, like, it's really cool. Well, inside you have that too. And it's not just inside your cells, your whatever, it's your emotional health, it's your soul health. And so right now with this holiday season, I've been taking a lot of time to sit back and, make this a joyful time of year. It has been years since I've had a joyful Christmas. And, I could look at it and be like, I'm alone. It sucks. I mean, I know I'm not really alone, but, for all intents and purposes, I'm the one sitting here in front of my Christmas tree by myself with nobody to play Connect 4 with every night, right? Yeah. But, so I've had a lot of time to reflect. Plus, I've been doing the St. Andrew Christmas Novena, and that's a prayer that you do for 30 days at Christmas time, and it ends on Christmas. And of course, with it being Advent season, Christmas season, there's a lot of activity going on in the church and a lot of focus on faith. Plus, I've also been doing, grounding work and my earthly work that my higher self is my church work. And then, my physical self, which also connects to my higher self and makes my higher self better. And my higher self makes my, I don't want to say lower because it sounds bad, or lesser, but, no, my earthly self and my heavenly self, I guess is how I would describe it. So I've been doing the practice, it's called The Practice, and it's geared towards women and, how we think about ourselves, how we listen to our inner selves. And the gal, Michelle Long, who does this, she calls it her Sunday service. She does a meditation every week. She checks in with people. She discusses things like, maternal lines, and it gets me thinking about familial lines and, all those greater things that we inherit. And, and sitting back and, I certainly, cancer was an awakening to, sit back and analyze my life. Like, what were my next steps? Pain did that to me. There was a point, where I realized fast in my chronic pain journey that I was never going to be normal again. I was never going to be the Sheena I was before the chronic pain condition developed. It's physically impossible. And it takes a lot more work to be that healthy Sheena. And it's taken years to journey back to health. And when I was finally getting that health back, I got smacked with the freaking cancer, okay? So now it's a journey back from that. So now I'm looking, and just like I said, I was talking about my brick and mortar store. I'm able to take and look at that, like I have to do the steps. The way things were before is no longer serving me. The, pandemic, the post-pandemic, are we really in, I don't, the everything surrounding that has changed business and changed the way consumer habits are. And so that has changed the face of my business. Plus my health has changed the face of my business. And stubbornly, I tried to, I guess I would say tenacious. I'm not saying that like I'm tenacious. Look at me, I'm big and bad. But no, I had the desire to keep that going no matter what, because I knew my little pinhole of light was on the other side of this cancer journey, that was going to be waiting for me, and that I could pick up where I left off when cancer started. I just didn't expect cancer to be this long. I didn't expect the setbacks. I didn't expect the infections. I didn't expect reconstruction to fail several times, So, yeah, a lot of things out of my control. But now I want to be like Eminem and sing, guess who's back? Look who's back, back again. But I really don't feel like, I was so worn out from when this cancer journey started. And it really, it hit me. And then it was physically fatiguing. And so things had to change in order for this to be here, my body. And it had to change for my mind. Because I needed to accept who I am, where I am, my limitations. I have to realize that I have to basically live like a hermit, which, that makes me real sad. Anybody that knows me knows I like my garden, and I, like chatting with folks and doing my thing, but, I like to garden. I like to read. I'm a book nerd. I like to write and draw and think. Mostly think. Everything I do revolves around, analyzing this inner self, and then being able to push myself to take the action and fighting through the trauma of that all, because there is trauma there. Cancer is a trauma. Any major medical health issue is a trauma. It's something that totally upends your life and of the lives of those around you, often, absolutely all the time. Okay. So, people always say we just want lives to be normal. It's Christmas time. We want the Hallmark Christmas card, Christmas movie. But, that's why they're movies. It's to give us hope. It's not to be what reality is for us all the time. But does it give us something to aspire to? Yes. And so I aspire to be healthy again. And I've been on this constant quest. And I was talking about Michelle Long, but she's doing this really deep inner soul work. And I did a 3-day workshop with her called, I wanted to just call it Liberated. That's an upcoming one she has. It was called, I don't know, I've been fixating is on her Liberated workshop, because I feel like her first workshop liberated me in a lot of ways. Like, gave me the permission not to feel shame, to work through that. The shame that I can't be everything to everybody. And she just discussed this today on her video. I watched the replay. I was a lector at Mass today, so I watched the replay. And yes, that's how heavily involved I've really started to become since, on my healing path. Years ago, I used to, long before my life changed in other ways, I used to go to Mass, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day. Like, I couldn't get enough. But I was healing my body, and I was healing my spirit, and I was healing my mind. And that was a tough time. That was the time of the surgery, the time of my divorce. So another really major life event, a trauma, right? So I think we're so often scared of the word trauma. And, trauma is anything that takes away our joy or our happiness or our pleasure from life, I think, So anyway, I did this workshop. It was great. She gave it free. I didn't have to pay anything or ask anybody through crowdfunding to pay it for me because I thought it would just intrinsically help my cancer journey. I mean, I knew it was. It was a blessing. It was free. And I did all the days of it, even on the days I worked. And, I had to, sit there alone while my assistant was at lunch and stuff. And, wow, it was powerful. And then I've also had I've started some counseling. Oh, that makes me remember I have to schedule appointments. So, that I've been having therapy appointments with, the, psychology department at, UW-Madison. And the intake questions were really, really powerful. Like, I really dread, it pulled, and, I like, wow, and to sometimes just voice things out loud that you keep inside of you. It's so freeing and liberating. And also just and in a safe space, and, in an arena where you're, you're comfortable where you're at, and you're taking the steps to work through things in all sorts of ways. And so anyway, part of that also is, this psych work. And so there is all levels here of healing, of working on levels of trauma that I'm working with, working on levels of psychology of, where does that relate into the issues of what's going on, the acceptance, the loss, what affects my ability to be my best functioning self, really, what's limiting me. That's what I feel we're working out, and how to get through it. You don't go to therapy for sympathy or for somebody to hear your side of the story or to make yourself look great and perfect. You go to therapy to do the freaking hard work. And if you still have a stigma about emotional health, we just have to throw that shit out the window, because, think about yoga, think about prayer. Those are active forms of emotional health, and those get poo-pooed too. Why is it that things that are good for us all over us, why is it that way? I don't know. Maybe it's the machine. Who knows? So plus, with being faced with physical challenges, I've really needed to take everything I've learned throughout the years. So that's why I do these videos. I have so many of these different facets, and I need to learn how to pull them together and do me. And so that has meant caring for me in all of these different ways. How I'm going to care for the health of my business, what's best for me, how I'm going to care for and feed my body with the foods that are best for me. Where am I going to find the time to do the research on my type of cancer, what I can do to live most effectively and most healthy. It's really, there's so many pieces of the pie that get pulled out every day, and it can be really overwhelming. And anyway, this morning on Michelle's Sunday service, she talked about, that self-care, that, and not self-care as in pampering and doing your toenails and washing your face and all that fun stuff, which I absolutely love doing and absolutely makes me feel great. But what you're doing for, what is your inner voice? What is she saying to you? She often uses in this group. It's a group for women's sisterhood. And that's, really the truth, and I think about that. And because I've known throughout this journey what I needed to do. I was just too scared to make that snap judgment, to take that leap of faith, to trust it, and wow, it's been rather limiting despite all of the work that I've done. And I also know that most of my physical practice, my teaching exercise, my teaching yoga, teaching and learning healing techniques, and studying, what different herbs and vitamins do and stuff as a hobby and an interest. I know I always did that to live the best life possible and try to feel the best I could and be as healthy as I could. And so it really threw me for a double decker when I got all wrapped up in the healthcare system with the, just looking into the chronic migraines, and then also with the issue with the chronic pain that developed, and then now my cancer, which we're finishing up. Man, it's been a shitty decade. Like, for reals. My 40s have been, right? But anyway, I have a lot of experience, so I've been discussing that lately. If you have a chance, check out the Wisconsin Business Pandemic Pulse podcast. There are a lot of good business owners on there who talk about that, share, like they have good stories, and they share these wonderful stories of survival through the pandemic, through personal challenges. They discuss different topics, like it's, it discusses on what's going on. It discusses this changing economy and this shifting of everything, and with that is this shift here. I've had a physical shift. If you have a chronic illness or if you have breast cancer, you're going through a shift. Like, wow. I mean, last year at this time, I barely had any hope. I could barely get out of bed. It was bad. Pictures looked bad. I know I've posted pictures somewhere. I don't even want to look at them again right now. But I have to do what I need to do to take care of my physical body so my mind can still exist. So I can still do my vocation. I can still show up, be present every day. I just needed to find a way that would make it work and not be defeated, not give up. I kept holding space in that store, and I owe so many people so much for helping me keep that store going during my cancer journey. And, just in the people that helped in the transitioning of the store, like, oh my gosh. And now I'm sitting back here this many years out with a lot of time on my hands, granted, because I can sit and think about these things, not being able to physically do things, and taking the time to make sure this surgery works, and not just being satisfied to say, well, nope, I need to get back to work. I'm, whatever. I don't care. I beat cancer. I don't need any boobs. No, I need boobs. I wanted to fit back in my bra, and I did. And that's helping me feel healthier. And that's my choice. You don't have to make it. And you can say what you want. But anyway, I would have had to have had another surgery anyway, or two. So this is no big deal. It's just, I did it in a way that would give me boobs instead of a way that took them away. Right? Right. Okay. So, all right, now that we cleared that up, I'm really sensitive about that lately. That's the thing I need to work on. So that she's talking to me about is that I'm feeling I'm not worthy of having my full body back. I think, like, some reason I feel like I need to be punished and I'm not worthy. And, and then, like, I have to take that, I have to drop it back down. I have to drop to my earthly self and say what my inner self is saying, my higher self. And then I take that, and I combine it way up here with, my thoughts and my prayers to God and what I think about out to the universe and the words that I speak and how I think about things. I mean, literally, like, thinking becomes a conscious task. It's just like every movement I do, I mean, granted, I'm not sitting like in a perfect style right now of how I should be sitting, but I like to sit in weird ways and oddly comfortable, but bending my body up like a pretzel does not work well for me these days, but I will again. But you have to just like keep all those parts of you functioning. You have to keep persisting. You have to make every movement conscious, not just in your mind, but also in your physical activity. The way you bend down to pick things up, the way you lift things. Are you lifting with your knees? Are you bending down to pick things up? You know, are you parking your car at the back of the parking lot and walking into the store? I mean, what are you doing to benefit you? Because if you're going to be miserable about health issues, that's just going to keep running that track in your mind. And if you have a chronic health condition, there's that point where it's just like, where you know, I'm never going to be the same again. Cancer, it's blatant. It's like you can see it. It's like I have the scars and the war wounds to prove that shit, you know? But other things you don't see. So, you know, you need to keep that in mind. So it's finding those little pieces, that piece of you inside that combines, you know, your higher self up here, that combines with the ideas God has for you and the purpose he has for you, if you'll just let him in, you know, and the universe that's waiting out here around you to rise up to meet you, you know, and if you'll keep grounded in where you're at, with where you're really feeling, with your true feelings, speaking out loud that which is holding you back most. You know, literally, that's where therapy comes in play, confession, you know, doing workshops like, you know, this upcoming Liberated workshop with Michelle Long, you know, attending, you know, being part of a church community, finding a faith to practice, you know, a way to worship our Creator, our Lord God, you know, like all of these things. Plus, you know, making sure that you're sitting properly. And part of it is this sofa. It sinks, like the mattress slides off, and pretty soon you're like laid on the floor like Jerry Lee Lewis on the shrink's couch. Speaking of shrinks, right? So yeah, I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm just bantering fool podcast, y'all. But I just wanted to get it out there because I'm so happy to be taking this time. December has been, there's Coach Mo Fall. I like to watch her too. And she's doing a December to remember. And I'm like, you go, girl. She had a skin cancer spot, a biopsy done on her face, and she came on screen, no makeup and Band-Aid on. I'm telling you, that's consistency, that's showing up, that's freaking moving on in life. And oh, we find so much inspiration in others. And so that's why I tell my story. You know, I hope that, you know, my lightheartedness, although my humor may not always be, you might be like, what? Can't believe she's laughing about that. But I do. That's how I've dealt with things. Humor has also played a huge role in my healing, you know, and I believe that all these setbacks, I believe that that's a setup for something good. I believe that all of these experiences I've had, I can look back at them and how they've shaped me, they've formed me, how feel like I'm coming into that fullest and strongest and best version of myself. In my middle age, I'm not, you know, this time of year it can be real hard to sit around and think, geez, I don't have family, I don't have kids, you know, I've wasted my life, you know, but no, I'm not going to think about that. So whatever, you know, we'll talk about that, you know, another time when I'm ready to deal. But no, I'm actually sitting here. I'm happy with where I'm at right now. I'm happy for this chance and this opportunity that I had this set up to step fully into the purpose and I feel I'm meant to live, and the mission that I've been given, and to fulfill my vocation and do what God intended me to do through my works. And so, yeah, if you know me, I've always been a little slightly off center, but this is the first time now it's so easy to share things all over the place. I used to teach in, communities, and now community is this whole big world out here, right? We could form community right through this media here. So anyway, I get cut off on one of the apps. I think YouTube cuts me off at 45 minutes. We'll see. But anyway, I'm going to pick up this discussion later. Stay tuned for part 2, okay? All right. Sheena Collins and with Sheena Strong, just bantering on. So maybe this should go to the Bantering Fool. All right. Take care.